Jesus, Yeshua the Christ. Bless each and every one of the followers of Christ. All right. I'm going to try to shorten this, okay, because I do want to come back with a part 2. All right. And this is going to be practical Christianity, okay? It can apply to anyone else, but it's going to be some practical stuff that we can use. Now, you may say, what does this subject have to do with Christianity? It has a lot to do with it. It has to do with understanding and knowledge. You know, a lot of times we think because we are spiritual people who are led by the Holy Spirit that we need to neglect other areas of our lives. And because of this ignorance, that means a lack of knowledge, it's having an effect on your children. It's having an effect on us, just being able to pay our bills. It's having an effect on a lot of areas of our lives, okay? Let's face it, those who earn more are able to pay their bills more than people who earn less, all right? Okay, so in this year, I want to start with education. I want to start with so many things. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. And so I think that there's some things that God would have me to share, not to say that I know it all, but just some things that I believe will be beneficial to someone. Sometimes what someone shares with you can change your life. And on the subject of education, I remember when I was in high school, and I'm going to talk about the issue about the lottery and how poor people are funding the lottery but receiving fewer benefits. But I want to start with this. When I was in high school, I almost didn't graduate on time. Not because I wasn't smart. I was smart. I was just lazy. I took advantage of the fact that my mother was the main person who really encouraged me in education. My stepfather didn't encourage us in education. My mother was the main person who encouraged us, but she was always working. He was working too. And so she would say things like, you need to get an education so you won't have to work hard like I work. I don't want you to do that. You can, and she would always call low grades, like if we came home with a D, she would say that's a dressed up F, it's just a glorified F. And so she would say things and she would encourage us, but to be able to sit down and have that extra time, she didn't. Now with my other siblings later on in life, even though her income was basically the same, just depending on the yearly or increase that they may have gotten, she started investing more in tutors and different things to help us get the help. My mother was very smart, although she didn't hold a position or a job where you consider a smart person would work in. She was very intelligent. In fact, I always called her Dr. whatever her last name is, because she was very, very smart and she was always reading. And so I think as parents, what a parent needs to do is always have to stress education to your children and the benefits of it. If you're going to be in school, why not benefit from it? Why be in school and not benefit from it? Okay? And so what I want to share in this is how my guidance counselor helped me based on knowledge. That senior year, I got to my senior year and I was 1 credit short. And none of my teachers could help me with that. Their state standards, you have to have a number of credits. And I discovered this at the end of my junior year when I failed a class because I waited to the last minute to take the exam and do well on the exam. But the previous 3 quarters or the 4 quarters, I goofed off. All right. And so my strategy of cramming for the exams, doing well for the exams, doing well on the main projects didn't work for me this time. So I found myself 1 credit short and at the threat of not graduating on time. My guidance counselor, bless her soul, wonderful German woman. I don't know where she is, if she's still alive, because she was kind of elderly at that time. But if she's still alive, God bless her. If she's dead, if she died in Christ, whatever her state is, God bless her. But I thank her for the information that she provided me. Information is knowledge, and information is power when it's applied. People like to say knowledge is power. You can have knowledge, but unless you put that knowledge in motion, it's not going to generate any power. Just like an object in motion, unless that object is moving, there's no energy that's going to be generated. All right. But once that object gets in motion, then the energy is there. All right. So that's basic physics about moving objects and energy. Okay. So let's just stay on this. Right. Okay. My point is the information that she provided me was that I can enroll in a college. Now you would say, why would you enroll someone who is failing in a college? Because she knew I was smart. She knew I could get it done. All right. And so she enrolled me in college while I was in high school. So I took college courses. In fact, I took 2, although I needed 1. I took 2 college courses and I got top grades in those college courses. In fact, I got A's. All right. And I got all A's in high school except 1 B+. And to this day, whenever I see my high school transcript transcript, it just makes me cry because I see how I wasted years, wasted time, wasted effort. I ended up graduating high school with an academic scholarship, but did not want to go to college. And that's another subject that we'll discuss later if the Lord leads, if he works it into a share. But what I'm saying is, if she had not provided me that information, my life could have taken a different turn. I could have ended up quitting school, well, which probably would not be likely in my mother's house. Or in my father's house, so I would have to move out, okay? So then I could have ended up in a lifestyle of having, a lot of children out of wedlock just to have a place to stay, because that's what a lot of people do. When you see a lot of foster kids, they get pregnant just because they don't have any place to go. So they end up getting pregnant just so they can get some housing and be able to support themselves and not be homeless, okay? And so this life cycle could have been my life cycle had not my guidance counselor given me the information that I need. And I take that information and apply it and generated the energy, the power that I need to graduate on time and also end up with an academic scholarship. So my concern, or what I want to share today, is that a lot of people are supporting the educational lottery. And they say, oh, I played the lottery, so, it helps the education, and they give scholarships and so on and so forth. But you're not doing other things to help your child get that scholarship. Just playing the lottery is not going to mean your child's going to get that scholarship. Just getting good grades in school is not going to be the only thing that your child needs to get that scholarship. A lack of knowledge and understanding is a problem among a lot of believers, okay? But sadly, a lot of kids aren't even getting the grades that they need. And this is even in Christian homes. Christians have not stressed to their children or have not poured the time and energy into their children to help them succeed. So I want to share with you some information from an article that I found while I was looking for, support data on this topic. And the article is from al.com. And it says, I guess Alabama's trying to get the lottery if they don't already have it. I'm not sure. But it says the low and moderate income Georgians, because they use Georgia. States like to use Georgia as an example whenever they're pushing this lottery bill. All right. But who benefits from the lottery in Georgia? Who benefits from the Georgia lottery? Okay. Low and moderate income Georgians spent the most on the state's lottery gains, but see the fewest dollars come back to their counties in Hope scholarships and grants, which are funded by lottery proceeds, wrote Cedric D. Johnson, an analyst for the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute. Instead, counties with higher median income households receive the largest share of Hope scholarships. The reverse redistribution is real. Johnson found that Georgians from counties with the lowest average income spent twice as much on lottery tickets than those in counties with the highest average income. So sorry that I did a little run-on sentence there. All right. So what happens here is Johnson found that Georgians from counties with the lowest average incomes spent twice as much on lottery tickets than those in counties with the highest average income. Moreover, the study showed that while middle-income counties provided 39% of lottery sales and received only 28% of scholarships, the highest-income counties provided 46% of sales, yet received 59% of the scholarships. That's twice as many scholarships for only a 7-point difference in sales. So what does this mean? It means the poor people spent a great deal of their income, the majority of their income, or the people that spent the most money out of their income on lottery sales were poor people, all right? The middle income accounted for 39% of lottery sales. The higher income accounted for 46% of lottery sales, yet they receive 59% of the scholarships. So in between the middle, or just comparing the middle income class with the upper income class or the highest income class, they had twice as many scholarships than the middle income class. So not only that, if the upper income or the highest income received 60% of the scholarships and the middle income received 28% of the scholarships, that's 88% of the scholarships already accounted for with the upper class and the middle class. So that only leaves 12% of the scholarships that went to poor people who spend most of their income, or who spend a greater portion of their income on the lottery. And another thing this report found, that for every dollar that a rich or the highest income person spent on the lottery, a poor person spent $2. So if two people walked in the store at the same time, a person from an upper class, regardless of their race or ethnicity, if they walked in and bought one ticket, a person from the lowest class, regardless of their ethnicity, went in and bought 2 tickets that they couldn't afford to buy. A rich person could spend $5 on lottery tickets. A poor person would have spent that $10 that they could not afford to spend on those lottery tickets. All right. Yet they only received 12% of the scholarships, whereas the rich people are receiving 60% of the scholarships. Why? The playing field is equal in recipients. The playing field is equal. The opportunity to access these scholarships is equal. And what is that equality? In passing the test. Now, is the test equal? No, it's not. And so that's why I will discuss on the next year why, if you are a lower income person or person from a lower class, social economic class, I don't mean class as in spiritual class, character class, but I'm talking about socio-economic class. If you're someone who is poor, doesn't mean that you're uneducated, all right? Because you have a lot of people. I was in the store the other day and I heard a woman, the way she was speaking, you could tell that she was educated and she was working at a low position, okay? So just because you have a lower income does not mean that you are uneducated. But the majority of the people who are in low and poverty income levels are not educated, or they're educated up to maybe the high school level, maybe a little college or technical training. And even if they have college degrees, the opportunities that they have to get jobs, there's obviously some disparities there. Okay, so let's call it what it is. We're dealing with truth over here. Even practical truth, spiritual truth, whatever it is going to come in truth. All right, in love, but it's going to come in truth. And so the problem is that when they go to take the test, there is a problem there. All right. And so that's why I'm going to share on the next year why I believe that poor children or children from poor communities, lower economic status, be it black, white, yellow, green, whatever it is, why I believe you should take the ACT instead of the SAT. All right. So if you want to hang in here and listen to these kind of shares, you're welcome to. What is the ACT, SAT? These are the tests that help your children to access these lottery funds. If they don't do well on these tests, they're not going to access these educational funds. So I'm going to tell you why I believe that children from a certain economic class or maybe ethnicity should take certain tests. All right. And I believe that these tests, if they take the right tests and apply themselves and learn the test, they're going to be able to access these funds. So God bless you, and I'll see you on the next year.